I'm proud of Virginia's history of being a home to more of our military personnel on a per capita basis than any other state in the country. And we've got to do all we can to protect that. One of the reasons why I thought sequestration was stupidity on steroids, and we have to avoid that coming back at all costs. Now, recently we've seen some wins and losses. I was proud that our whole congressional delegation came together in terms of making sure that we convinced the Navy and President Obama to keep funding in for the refueling of the George Washington. That's both important to keep an 11-carrier fleet and those jobs in Hampton Roads. I'm also proud that our delegation worked together as well to make sure that we didn't lose a carrier to Mayport, a battle that we've been dealing with over the last couple of years. We have to recognize, though, that with increasing budget pressure on our military, we're going to have to deal with the grand budget bargain again. Why I've been such an advocate for my so-called Gang of Six or Simpson-Bowles plan that takes on entitlement reform and tax reform so that we don't keep going back and cutting our defense in an increasingly dangerous world, and for that matter, infrastructure, education, and research, all the areas of discretionary spending. Recognizing how we've got to protect our military is critically important. We also have to realize that in many, across Virginia, and particularly in Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia, we have to think about diversification. So let's look at what assets we can further leverage. We've got modeling and simulation capability down in Hampton Roads that we ought to think about moving those businesses from being defense-related to other industries as well. We've got an ability at Langley, and I'm proud to have gotten federal dollars for this, to leverage the research capability at Langley into advanced composites. That's for airplanes and for cars, other items. This could be a great center of excellence going forward. Third, I think we've got a great opportunity as well to leverage our assets at Wallops in terms of commercial space. We've got Orbital up in Northern Virginia, a number of other commercial space entities. We ought to make Virginia the commercial space capital of all of America. And finally, and while this is a little more controversial, as somebody who maybe saw a little ahead of the times on cell phones when I got into that in forming Nextel in the 80s, I think an area that is going to have tremendous growth is going to be unmanned aerial systems. Now, there's huge privacy issues that have to be concerned with so-called drones, but they are going, I believe, to come, and they're going to have applications not just in terms of military or law enforcement, but in terms of weather, in terms of agriculture, and we've even heard from Amazon that they're looking at that in terms of product delivery. So I'm proud of the fact that Virginia was one of the 6 sites that were chosen for around the country to be able to test these systems. I think, again, this could be a huge, huge growth area, and Virginia ought to stake a flag that while we've got to still have those privacy debates, that if these systems are going to be built and designed, they ought to be here in Virginia. Again, ways that we can leverage and look forward on this economy rather than simply relying on our traditional bases in terms of the federal government spending and defense.